Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 24th of September 2020. These are the couple of issues that we'll be discussing today. The first article for the day is taken from the Indian Express and it is titled Redefining Essential Items. So the background of this is the Amendment for Essential Commodities Act of 1955. The backdrop of this legislation was it was created or it was legislated at a time when the country did not have enough food resources. India was in such a dismal state that it had to depend on food imports from countries like USA. So under a program called PL 480, India was importing wheat from US. And during this time, to prevent hoarding and black marketing of food, this act was legislated. But now the situation changed. The production of wheat has increased 10 times and the production of rice has increased more than 4 times since the last 50 years. Despite this increase in the production, the imposition of stock limits has severely constrained agricultural trade, and it has not created an environment where private sector found it conducive to invest in agriculture. What happened as a result was there is no enough infrastructure at state level and there is no private participation, which has led to downfall in the price discovery of farmers' produce. So this issue of price discovery is the main trigger point to legislate a amendment for this act. There should be proper incentive for farmer for his agricultural produce. And also, before the pandemic has struck, the government had a vision of doubling farmers' income by 2022. In this backdrop, the definition for essential commodity was changed with an amendment. Previously, it was very vaguely defined. Now, let us have a look into the details of this amendment. The first thing that we have to understand is whether the definition of essential commodity is given. There is no fixed definition of essential commodity. So what this act basically does is it creates a schedule, and the government from time to time notifies certain products which are there in this schedule. So there are a lot of items under this schedule like drugs, fertilizers, food stuff like sugar cane, oil seeds, raw jute, textiles. All this were considered as essential commodities, and there is actually no definition for essential commodities. Government can regulate or it can control the production, supply, distribution, everything that is related to the trade. There was no objective criteria that in which conditions the government should be imposing this Essential Commodities Act. So with this amendment, what the government has been trying to do is it inserted a section and a clause which specifies these conditions under which Essential Commodities Act can be brought in place. So there was a amendment, and this amendment has brought new subsection 1 clause A under the section 3 of the act. Before this amendment, if a particular item is in the schedule, it doesn't mean that production, pricing, stocking is being regulated. Rather, the act says that from time to time government may declare or notify a particular item which it wants to regulate, for what time period and what things it wants to regulate. Now after this 2020 Amendment Act, what happened was the supply of foodstuffs can be regulated under certain conditions. What are these conditions? War, famine, natural calamity of grave nature, and extraordinary price rise. Now this extraordinary price rise is also objectively defined, that is 50% increase. So if there is a 50% increase in retail prices of non-perishable food stuff, then we can impose this Essential Commodities Act. And secondly, whenever there is 100% increase in horticultural products like say tomatoes, onions, potatoes, which are considered to be a part of a staple diet, if they increase 100%, then we can bring in the Essential Commodities Act. So we have to focus on this word supply. The supply can mean anything in the entire supply chain of the farming, from the farm to the fork. It can include production, distribution, stocking, etc. And it specifically says that there is no limit on stocking especially those who are involved in the supply chain or those who are involved in the food processing industry. So basically, previously, black marketing was one of the biggest problem, and Essential Commodities Act was utilized to put curbs on this stocking so that the supply is free and unrestrained in the market for consumers. So essentially, now this changes. That is the main part of this amendment. There is no imposition on stocking limit, and again, there are certain conditions under which Essential Commodities Act can be brought in force. These are the key points that you have to know from this entire article, a very important one. So this article is again taken from the Hindu, and it is titled Center Retain 1.1 lakh crores of cess receipts. So this is again in the context of the CAG report that came out yesterday, in the context of the audit that happened for the preceding financial year. So to get into the details of this article, what happened was the Comptroller and Auditor General of India told the Parliament that Centre has transferred only 60% of the proceeds from cesses and levies in the financial year 2018-2019. So these cesses were supposed to be transferred to relevant reserve funds, but they were not transferred, and they were lying unutilized in the Consolidated Fund of India. That is the main issue. Now, before getting into the details of this article, let me explain some brief basics that you need to understand the context of this article. For starters, you have to understand what a Consolidated Fund of India is. So if you take a look at Article 266 Clause 1 of the Constitution of India, you will notice that it is made up of certain revenues. Now, what are those revenues, receipts, and what are the loans raised, we'll be talking about. So in this Consolidated Fund of India, all the revenues received by the centre by taxation, that is income tax, central excise, customs, GST, all this will come under the taxation aspect, and the other source of revenue is non-tax revenue. See, all the loans raised by the centre by the issue of public notifications, treasury bills, and from foreign governments, all this will come under the loans raised by the government, and even that will go into the Consolidated Fund of India. Now, for making any expenditure, all government expenditures are incurred from this fund only. So there are certain exceptional items which are met from the contingency fund and public account. Will not get there, but the point that I am trying to say is no amount can be withdrawn from the fund without the authorization of the Parliament. That is the most important point. So the CAG audits the fund and reports the relevant legislations on the management of this Consolidated Fund of India. The second thing that one has to understand is the meaning of the word cess. Now, what is a cess? Even cess is a form of tax only. So this tax is levied over and above the basic tax liability of a taxpayer. Now, what is this basic tax liability? Say for example, a product costs 100 rupees. On that, if we are taxing 5%, on this 5% amount, that is 5 rupees, we will be taxing say 4%. That is how this cesses are levied. The purpose of this is every cess is levied to meet a particular expenditure for public welfare. Now, cess is not a permanent source of revenue for the government, and it will be discontinued when the purpose is fulfilled. So it can be levied both on indirect and direct taxes. For prelims, this can be a very important question. If they say that it can be levied only on direct taxes, then it is false. It is levied both on direct as well as indirect taxes. So if you want to take certain examples, you can include the infrastructure cess. This was levied on the production of vehicles. Another example can be the Swachh Bharat cess. Before this, there was also clean energy cess on coal utilization. There was educational cess before the era of GST. So there are many examples like this. So this is all about. Now let us look at what surcharge means. Surcharge simply means extra fee, extra charge or extra tax. that is added on the cost of a good or a service beyond the initially quoted price. Say for example, if a product costs 100 rupees, you will put some surcharge of 1.5% on this, for example. So this extra cost incurred on that is called surcharge. It is added to an existing tax and is not included in the stated price of the good or service. So for MRP, the product will have only 100 rupees, but while billing, this additional surcharge will be added to that. Most of the times these surcharges are taken up to ensure that extra services given by the government are adequately priced. Say for example, in fuel stations, utilization of credit cards will have a certain surcharge. This is a sort of a convenience fee. Now that we have understood the basics, let us come back to this news item. So what happened was, in the financial year 2018-19, 2.75 lakh crores was collected as a part of the various cesses and levies that were imposed on various products. Now, but the problem is, CAG found out that center has transferred only 1.64 lakh crores and it has kept with itself, that is in the consolidated fund of India, 1.1 lakh crores. Now, these 1.64 lakh crores were transferred to various funds for which these cesses and surcharges were supposed to be levied upon. So they all have a purpose, as we have discussed. Now if you take the example of GST compensation fund, we know that GST compensation fund is trying to achieve the purpose of fulfilling the shortfalls of GST revenues for states for a period of 2017 to 2022. Recently, we have seen a controversy with respect to lack of funds with states and they demanding funds from the center. Now, as far as this GST compensation cess is concerned, nearly 40,000 crores are not transferred to the related compensation fund. Similarly, another 10,157 crores of the road and infrastructure cess, which was introduced in the budget year 2016, was neither transferred to the related reserve fund nor utilized for the purpose for which it was collected. Similarly, 2,123 crores of the universal service levy. Now, what is this universal service levy? So basically, for telecom sector, one of the major objective of the government is to ensure that the access to telecom services should be equitable across all the regions. Now, as a part of this objective, there was a universal service obligation fund which was created to ensure universal non-discriminatory access to quality ICT services. The cess imposed for this is called the universal service levy. Now, the 2,000 crores collected for this purpose were left in the consolidated fund of India and it is not transferred to the telecom related services which were supposed to achieve this objective of non-discriminatory access to ICT services. Similarly, the article also mentions about various other levies like 79 crores collected as National Mineral Trust levy was not transferred to the relevant funds. Similarly, when we are talking about the social welfare surcharge on customs, there is an amount of 8,871 crores as given in this article, and even this amount was stuck. So there is no dedicated fund for the same. In this case, the peculiar thing is, even though there was a surcharge, there was no fund which was allocated for that purpose. Now it defies the entire purpose of having a surcharge. Similarly, we have Oil Industry Development Board. So they have a certain reserve fund which was meant to ensure the development of this oil and gas industry, and there is a cess which is levied upon the crude oil. This cess is a whopping 1.25 lakh crores almost. So even this was not transferred to the Oil Industry Development Board. So the mechanism of utilization of all these cesses and levies should be understood. First, they enter into the consolidated fund of India, and from that they will be transferred to the reserve funds, and they should be used accordingly as designated by law and the utilization of these funds will be subject to audit. This is how cesses and surcharges were meant to function, but that did not happen. That is the concern raised by CAG, which is considered as the watchdog of India's financial resources. So this is an opportunity to understand various taxation issues and the role played by CAG, and what is the scope of audit and how is it different from